There we go. Welcome to another Box of Nails podcast. This is Self here. This is Sea Monster.
I'm yeah, no, you don't know who you are.
Oh, and I'm Pseudo. I'm Pseudo. Yeah, they're around somewhere. They're in the background. We're gonna be talking Balance Soto coming out next week. Obviously, if you don't know what Soto is, it's a terrible name for a new expansion called Secrets of the Obscure that Guild Wars 2 is introducing. I'm actually very excited about this expansion, possibly more so than I think End of Dragons. Um, what are you guys' just first impressions of this before we get into topics here? How you feeling
of,
about this?
of the expansion as a
Yeah.
whole. I mean, yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited for I mean, I'm not much of a story player, but like new story beats, a change of pace.
Yeah, that
Could
makes
be fun.
sense. I'm excited because it looks a little bit more repeatable in a friendly way than End of Dragons was. I bet Sea Monster went to go to the bathroom and we started it. Oh well, he'll get back
It's all
whenever he
good.
gets back.
Yeah, I mean, I think the expansion looks interesting like it feels like it's gonna be indicative of the future of the game. So I'm interested in what they do, but I really don't care for the wizard aesthetic.
Interesting.
You know, you're not a fire wizard, man.
I don't want to go to Hogwarts.
That is true. It is basically. I don't know. The maps they showed off in the teasers looked really good, so I'm kind of excited for that.
Did you see you know Weeping Willow, the YouTuber that does all of the like griffin flying tricks?
Yeah, I saw the teaser she did. It was really cool.
Dude, it looked sick. Yeah, the maps looked much better than every image they put out so far.
Yeah.
It's crazy that like she did better advertising than they do.
What's really funny to me is arenanet basically, like, they had dragons, and then WoW clearly copied Dragonflight, like, down to the trailer. And then arenanet's like, no, we can do dragons even better than you can. And now they're, like, buffing the dragon even more. It's just...
And sending us to Dalaran.
Yeah, it's this endless dragon war of buffs. But yeah, so we got some topics for today. We're going to be talking about Soto, just general overview. We're going to be talking about the quasi battle pass they put in the game with this. They're doing it in a good way. They're doing changing login rewards and dailies to be a little bit more healthy for the game, I think, overall. Talking Relics, Weapons Master Part 1 and 2 releases, who's getting screwed and who's benefiting the most. That one will be really fun. They're nerfing alt logins, just kind of an ancillary topic. I already had a short on that channel. Go watch that if you're really interested in that. Release schedule for Soto over the next 1 to 2 years that we've gotten anyway, the information, and just obligatory warrior complaining I have to squeeze in. That's what I got. I guess I'll get that out of the way. I want to just... I get 3 minutes of this, right? I'm using my 3 minutes now.
Now I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Just to say
I'll come back
that
in
I
3
don't
minutes.
think Warrior's bad. I think it's actually very good. I just think half of its kit is dog crap. And the way it's good is very unhealthy. But kind of like you said, every class does have a trait like Unshakable Mountain or something that just makes it like really good. And that's kind of why you end up playing the class in PvP. So it is what it is. That's all I got for that. Clearly it's not so bad you can't play it. I just used it to beat our Harvest Temple run, which is awesome, and go watch it if you haven't.
As a healer, no less.
Yeah, healer's generous, more as a res bot, but yeah.
But just I feel like people sleep on Heal Blade Storm.
Yeah,
It's not good, but it's viable for sure.
Well, the healing on it's not good. You
I
think?
think the healing on it is
I
good.
think
I do.
you're
I
mistaking
raid
it.
a lot with it.
I think you're mistaking. Well, if you raid on it and you can make it work, I can't argue with that. That's already used. But I just want to point out that when the tactics trait, that when you heal or when you give might, you heal. That's only to yourself. That's not to you. If that was to everybody, then it would be fine.
It's mainly the shouts. The shouts
the shouts
just
are
heal
insane.
an obscene amount right now. They've actually, I forget who I was talking about this with. There was like, if you looked at what shouts did on release versus what they did now, like the power creep of the game is just so evident.
Yeah. Especially with all the healing outgoing modifiers and stuff, they heal
Exactly,
quite a lot.
exactly. Yeah, it's like 4 to 5k on an ammo scale. It's crazy.
It's pretty good. That's just so you have it, Sea Monster. That's the release window schedule. I'll put this in our chat and pin it in the description as well. But we're getting an interesting release for Soto, I want to say. A lot of the things they've highlighted and announced kind of got buried in news posts, and we're not really getting on release. We're getting a lot of stuff on release, like the new daily login system, new story maps, a couple of them, new town hub or whatever it's going to be called. But then if you look at this chart, which I will pull up right now, we're not getting quite a bit. Let's zoom in. So story acts, question mark, questionable amount of story. I'm guessing 10. 2 maps. That's going to be weird if we're only getting 2 maps.
I mean, I think it's just we're gonna have to get used to this is their new content release schedule, and I agree it's weird to launch an expansion with a lot of the most exciting features of the expansion not launching with it, but I am choosing to look at their new model as kind of a yearly subscription price, and trying to think about it in terms of what am I getting for a year of $25, and in that sense I'm cool with it. I think their biggest issue, personally, actually not personally because it doesn't affect me either way, but I think they really should have put out like a chase item on the release, like the open world legendary armor should have been available on the release so that people have like a thing to grind. Instead, people are going to like do the story and then log off, which yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see.
Well, they said, yeah, we talked about this a little bit before, but they talked about the first 2 armor collections will be work toward legendary armor, but that's pretty much all, and those will be available on release, but we don't know in what capacity. We don't know if they're going to be exotic or ascended. It's going to be weird.
Yeah. I mean, we can only speculate for now, but...
Well, I'm more set. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if I had to guess, I would say probably like the... I hesitate to say Giala Delves, but the armor set collection there, I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was fine. I imagine we'll have something similar like that for an Ascended set, and then that'll be the precursor, something like that.
Something like that. I more meant with the story acts where it's just this nebulous amount. We don't know how many or when they're releasing. And we're only getting 2 maps. And usually it's like, 2 acts, 2-3 acts, and then a different map, 2-3 acts, and then a different map, like Path of Fire. It's like, you're running through all the maps they've designed.
Sure.
But there's only 2 maps, so maybe a lot of the story will actually take place in Corteria, since rifts are opening, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I remember them saying something like that, but I think if they do that, that seems healthy for the future of the game, of them revitalizing old areas of story.
I agree with you. And I've never actually been more excited to genuinely just play Guild Wars, and obviously finishing Harvest Temple is a big weight off so that we can just enjoy the game now. But it's I would do jumping puzzles or whatever. I would do whatever people needed if it was rewarding. That's been my big complaint. There's especially
should we talk Vault?
So yeah, let's just segue that into how this is going to look when they do releases. So the Wizard's Vault, if you didn't know, I have a preview of this somewhere, but basically it's going to be, some of the items are going to be locked behind the expansion, some of them aren't, and it's the new daily system. You're going to get 5 points a day for logging in, and then it looks like the weekly cap, still waiting for that official post, by the way, but it looks like the weekly cap is 1,300. And you're going to get around 40 for doing an activity. I find it incredibly funny. Someone put it on Reddit that finish 5 PvP reward tracks is 40 points, and do a 5-minute jumping puzzle is also 40 points. But we'll see how that goes. But basically, this is the, let me find it, infographic that they put on, previewing like what it's gonna look like a little bit. Ignore the meme, but yeah, that's it. And then complete 5 structured PvP rank tiers, complete any strike mission, Dark Reverie jumping puzzle, assuming these will be random. 10 there's World Invaders, that one will take about 8 seconds if you're in a Zerg. So yeah, pretty much jump in, get your activities done, and then dip out. They've also said that they, really quick, sorry to just summarize, a lot of the rewards won't be exclusive to when you're playing. They will just be more expensive and go into a vault, if you don't manage to get enough astral acclaim, or as it's known, when they release.
You terrified me with that.
Good. I'm hope you're awake. That's what it's abbreviated as.
Just a minor addition. Because I agree. I saw that 5 PvP reward track thing, and I was like, there is no way, right? That doesn't make sense. But Ruby added later on that you get to select what your activities are based on your game modes. So you can either select all 3, or you can select, I only want to do PvP activities.
Huh.
So I assume that was just an unfortunate screenshot, and there could be like more reasonable PvP ones.
The 100 tournament wins or whatever it was, or tournament games says otherwise, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they remember PvP exists, hopefully.
Oh my god.
My question is, do you think we're getting new stats? I'm gonna go no.
No, I say no. Yeah. I think they would have said it if we were.
Yeah, we're getting relics. That'll be the balance on release at least. Thing. I think we'll get a soft balance patch on the like. There's no way they just. Well, maybe they do. Maybe they just give us the shared weapons thing and let it ride, and then nerf whatever's super overpowered, right?
I think they used that beta to fine tune some of their. I'm sure they already knew some of the problematic weapons, and I imagine they used the beta earlier to get even more data. So we'll get a small balance patch for sure.
Yeah, there's no reason to do that beta if they're not planning on balancing at least a little bit.
Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully they actually read the feedback and that wasn't a joke. I don't... All I gotta say is Ranger's cracked, and it's gonna continue being cracked for a really long time. Oh, Ranger's gonna be nutty. Soul Beast with Hammer. I'm scared. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I'm sure I'll have some build ideas. It'll be a fun time for build crafters. So yeah, new battle pass, sort of. Just quick tip, if you have any alt accounts, maybe get them to level 80 or get the means to get them to level 80 before the thing drops, just in case logging in with them is worth it. My real question is how long before, Guild MM or whoever does this just starts botting dailies, Obsidian Sanctum jumping puzzle. It's gonna happen. I'm not gonna do it, but it's gonna happen. So we'll see. I guess it depends heavily on how much Mystic Coins or whatever costs too.
Yeah, I mean, the economy right now is a little silly. People are freaking out as a result.
Oh
but...
man, I've made so much money selling Mystic Coins. Especially considering that I realized today that we're not getting legendaries on release.
Yeah, it is. I agree. It's a good time to sell.
Yeah.
But I'm not too worried about it. I feel like Mystic Coins are a very important economy valve, and whatever happens, arenanet will try to keep them at a stable level.
Yeah, I'd be okay if they went up to 3-4 gold. It's
I wouldn't be surprised if they'll be easier to get for an active player, and then obviously we'll have them removed for just alt accounts.
The logins, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty reasonable, right?
I just feel bad for the people who just got into the Alta game now, because I've gotten my use out of my alt accounts that I paid for. But anyone who just started with Ender Dragons was like, oh, these alt accounts are pretty good, and then bought, the one guy on Reddit said he spent $1,600 on alt accounts, and he's really pissed. It's yeah, I kind of get that. That's I
also have little sympathy for it, but yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot of money that you can't refund. Regardless of what you think about that, it's going to be fun. Soto, next Tuesday. That's crazy to think about. 2 maps, 1 hub, more maps and releases throughout the year. So let's look at this chart. We got story acts, we got maps, we got a hub, we got 2 normal strike missions on release, CM's TBD, Fractal, CM TBD, and Fractal. Weapons Master Training, we'll go over that after I finish this chart. New weapons in February. Kind of late. Skyscale Acquisition on release, so masteries with that. 3 mastery lines. I thought they said 4, but I might have done a bunch of acid and hallucinated that. Or no, I think they said 3 and then 1 later or some shit. Something like that.
I don't remember, yeah.
Yeah, masteries and then 1 in November. Okay, so the first thing we're actually ironclad getting is the 4th mastery. Interesting. Legendary armor, TBD. Rift Hunt on expansion, higher tiers later. That'll be good for having a guild. And then relics. Hey, we were both wrong. It's 40 core and then 12 on release, so 52. and then more relics in November, and then more expansion relics in February, and then question mark as if this chart is to be believed for May. Then legendary relics way the crap down the line. And I think Sulfur and I are pretty aligned on this, that we both agree that they definitely should have had a legendary something on release.
Yeah, I mean that's the end game that they funnel you into in PvE, right? So to have nothing for it is a little weird.
Very odd.
Though it's weird. Like this expansion, I would say a lot of the things that I think other people are excited about in this expansion have no interest in me because like I have full legendary. Like,
like
what am I gonna? I mean, stuff like open world players that finally get legendary armor, right? Like that is meaningless to me. Like I think the armor looks really cool, but I'm not gonna craft it, right?
I want to add my 2 cents in on that stupid controversy, if you can even call it that. The
Which
idea
one?
that people, there's this thing on like clickbait thing going around on YouTube where people who want views are making videos about it, where it's like legendary armor should be exclusive to hard content. And we had this conversation after our raid. The hardest thing to do in this game is sit through the hours and hours and hours of story you need to do for the open world amulet. And granted, that gives you effectively other legendaries too, because it just dumps like mystic clovers and coins and stuff you can sell at you. But that is still far and away way more time invested than even the like 100 PvP wins you need, or like all the world versus world crap you need, or all the raiding you're gonna do. Like it far and away, way more time committed. There's no way you can rush that. I don't know. That's just all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just good to essentially offer endgame to every aspect of the game and open world players. I mean, I think there's a good reason why they didn't have it yet, but it's nice that they figured something out. Hopefully it's not too easy.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't even have an issue with the difficulty. It's like, honestly, if you rate it all, like, rating is not hard either, right?
Not
like,
anymore.
The game is not difficult, right? The only thing that's actually difficult in the game are stuff like Harvest Temple and winning a PvP monthly.
No, that's
like
easy. We just suck.
That's okay. All right.
That's just,
Where's your
No,
where's your gizmo?
Yeah, right. No, I meant the Harvest Temple. Like, just easy fight. We just suck.
I mean, I'll be real. I don't even think the fight's hard. It's just precise.
Okay, mister, I stayed on stack the entire time, but I hear you. It was a thing. Go watch it, but we got it done. Hopefully we'll get it for Kriven at some point. But yeah, it's there's definitely a few fights that just because whether they're buggy or whether they're just annoying to get groups for, I think. I still think hurting cats, as I say, or just finding people to play with is the hardest thing to do in the game, but it's
true of any social game.
Yeah, if they had an external tool that wasn't the LFG, I think it would go a long way. I've thought about making a website about 1,000 times. The only problem is the storage that I'd have to pay for it, for people to actually make good like pages for their guilds. Because like our guild has a website, and that's always been one of the best benefits of it. But a lot of guilds don't. And if there was just like guildwars2lfg.com, you know, if someone wants to make that, go for it. I think that'd be amazing. But it is what it is. All right, so we talked about all the release stuff. I want to talk about balance and bring it back to that because I'm actually really excited for this, and we've talked about it just a little bit before. So Sulfur doesn't want to speculate on balance too much, but
oh no, I'm down to speculate on balance, just not on relics. Like,
okay, well, I'll bring up the
because we don't have we don't have too much info on relics specifically.
But essentially what they're doing is they're probably going to take the 40 most used runes and then just translate the 6 slot over to relics. And what's really interesting to me is, first off, things like some of the things that are unique, like the 25% movement speed, are actually going to stay on the rune. And then you're going to get a bonus relic slot. So that's effectively a buff to that rune. And then there's things like Rune of the Pack that already have very good stats, where they'll probably take like the Might, Fury, and Swiftness application when you get in combat and put that on a relic. And then that's almost, granted they said they'd put something else in the 6 slot, but the 6 slot also gives boon duration already, so I don't see them putting something on top of that for that rune, which is already extremely strong. So, at least for World vs. World, that's kind of a nerf. Really interesting. I don't know. Trying to find these 6. Of course, I can't find it when I look for it. But essentially, the relics that they've shown off are going to have extremely powerful effects on skill use, elite skill use. And then one of them was really interesting, where it said that the cooldown or the duration of like the crystals that it spawned, which block projectiles or that give resistance and or protection and resolution, scaled with the cooldown of the elite skill used.
They said this in one of the interviews they had. Is
There it
that
is.
all of the relic effects will scale with cooldowns.
That's
So
weird.
like, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, because they want, if you have like a long duration or a long cooldown elite skill, like they still want to incentivize you to use certain things. It's a little weird, but I think it's fine, right? As long as it's implemented well.
Maybe. What
Because I
happens
think
when I take...
I think the whole point of relics is to be just an extra active addition to your build, right? Like they're functionally another trait.
That's a good way of thinking of it, I guess. Like a equipment trait.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because, like, my mind immediately went, what happens if I take, like, a 6-minute cooldown racial skill?
Well,
Like,
I bet there'll be a max,
this?
but I want to see it now. Yeah.
It's like, some of the racial skills, especially on Char, are, like, minutes long. So, I don't know. Like, can I use it and then swap out another relic and use that? Like, all kinds of crazy stuff.
I bet you could certainly do some pre-combat shenanigans like that.
Well, even like things like Jaunt on Mesmer that just has charges, like you just, you know, jaunt all over and you're just swapping builds really quick. So just weird crap. I mean, World versus World is already a kind of shit fight like that, where you can just, you know, use a bunch of like buffing weapons and then build swap before you get into combat. But yeah, that's the nature of the beast. So I don't know. Just some of these effects that they've shown off look nuts. Like Rune of the Nightmare, or Relic of the Nightmare, that clearly comes from Rune of the Nightmare, inflicts fear and poison, kind of probably combining Runes of the Sunless and Nightmare there. And then you have things like Relic of the Wizard's Tower. After using elite skill, shield yourself with a projectile reflecting barrier and summon a wave that pulls enemies toward you. And it's like, in PvP, that's nuts. So like, what they hinted that they're gonna be including these in PvP, or some of them. So I guess we'll just see what's OP, right?
Yeah. And some are going to be really obvious, right? Like the Ceres there,
Yeah. This
convert boons to conditions.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be like every support in World War is going to take that, right? Like,
Well, even
it's
on
insane.
on a PvP node, you drop that on a node, it's like that's a bubble, you know.
Yeah.
A better spellbreaker bubble. It's like, okay.
But we'll see if they're all like similarly strong. Like then it's just an issue of what fits your build thematically the most.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of like how I was building some stuff, and when I made the ranger that can do every condition, it's like, this is really strong, but it's not the strongest thing in the game right now. It's just funny that it can do every condition now. Like it's good. Okay, so here's the real question that reminded me of the question I wanted to ask related to this, or at least one of them. What runes do you guys hope stay, and what like 6-slot bonuses do you just hope get deleted from the game, if anything?
I just hope generally that they reduce a lot of the. Well, it turns basically all runes are going to become stat bonuses now, right?
Or movement speed, but they count that as a stat bonus, yeah.
Yeah, it's a stat bonus though. But like, as long as they reduce some of the damage modifiers, like I think Scholar is like obviously a very strong rune, but it's a very boring rune.
Yes.
So I think if they reduce some of the, I mean, all runes are gonna be boring now, right? So I don't know. I was a lot of talking to say I have no idea.
I mean, that's fair. Like, I'm actually like just thinking about it because I jumped into World versus World on my Bladesworn the other day. I'm actually really excited that runes are going to be boring, because runes for the longest time have either had usually really good stats or really good 6 slots, and they've never had both. And like there's like a few runes that have both, like durability and pack, and for at least building World versus World crap, and that's it. So you just take those because they're just pretty much the best of both worlds. But now that if you have like leadership with all that concentration or the boon duration plus the stats, just base, and then you have something else that converts, you know, conditions on you into boons, or like pack runes that just give you boon duration and precision, which is one of the hardest things to build for. That's awesome, at least from a buildcraft perspective. Granted, a lot of those things already aren't in PvP for that reason, but there definitely are some of them. So, like the Celestial ones, so we'll see. Oh, it's weird. It's gonna be nuts. Sea Monster, wake up.
I mean, I have nothing to say about relics. I've never enjoyed runes. Relics might save them for me, but I don't
No, that's
really
something
know
to
if
say.
they will. I mean, yeah, just I feel like the part about runes I didn't like is still going to be true. So I don't know if relics will make it better, just make it even more annoying and more information I have to pay attention to.
Yeah, what's really interesting is about your perspective is I think you want the game to be less complicated, right? At least buildcraft perspective.
Well, it's funny you say that because it does both things at the same time, right? I think a lot of the focus of Soto is bringing new players up to line with veteran players, right? Like everyone's getting a sky scale,
Right.
and now you can't like use a bad
if you
rune
do the
combination.
thing, but yeah, it's easier.
Well, yeah, it's
ostensibly.
you know, most people will get a sky skill more easily now, right? And like you actively kind of can't mess up your runes now because the strongest bonus is on your relic instead, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think in some ways they make it easier, but I agree in some ways it's just like more information. So that is an interesting take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like more intuitive by the sake of like harder to fuck up if you have no idea what's going on, but not actually intuitive if you want to get into it and learn how it works.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be the UI. Have you seen the UI for this? It's so janky.
It's kind of gross, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's just messing with me because there's no force slot on the bottom. So it's like
What's really weird is that there's a third slot next to the underwater stuff.
Yeah, there might be a just question mark. I don't know.
No, I just mean like there's there's 6 trinkets and there's 2 underwater things.
I haven't looked at that. That's actually on the thumbnail for this. Let me go pull it up.
I mean in our current equipment panel.
Oh yeah.
So I'm saying if they just like move those over a little bit, you could have 3 lines of 3.
Yeah, it's
nope.
very sus where they chose to put the relic thing. Oh, there's like every Ascended Feast in Lion's Arch if you want to go grab that and you're listening to this. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited for new stuff to play with, even, as always. I'm really curious, and this kind of came up in my training group too. Everything is nuts right now, like in PvE World vs. World and PvP. How long do you think they'll wait before they actually start doing, like, nerfing shit?
I don't think they're going to nerf shit.
I think maybe not.
I think this is it. I think that they're raising the power level of the game so that everyone's able to do everything. And I think this is the power level that the game is going to stay at. I hope so. I deeply hope so.
They tried. They
40k
DPS. Patch, it didn't work.
Yeah, 40k DPS, 30k support DPS. I think that's their goal. I think PvP is weird because it's just an arms race there. It's not really like it's harder to be like, oh, it does 40k, it's good, right? And that'll always just be like, oh, you pick the best thing you can, instead of I actually think balance in PvE right now is pretty good. Like, you can really play any spec you want.
With Harvest Temple in mind, I agree with you.
I mean, just like truly, you can play anything. I don't think there's any elite spec where you'll be ridiculed for joining a group. But the power level is just insane right now. Like even pugs skip things. I was in a Samurog recently,
right?
And it was just like a pug Samurog, right? I think we failed every single break bar. Like, we just failed every single one, and it was very frustrating. But we still got the kill, and it was like that was actually a little frustrating to me. Not that I like wanted to fail. I actually was like, whatever, I'm happy. I'll move on to the next boss. But it kind of irked me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, because they're not actually learning the
they didn't learn how to play the game. They just were like carried by, oh, now your auto attack does 30k damage, right?
Yeah, it's
but
a weird
I guess
world.
It doesn't matter, right? Like,
it matters to me, not in that sense specifically, but more in the sense of this is our like second major topic that I wanted to get into. A lot of the elite specs, if everything's sharing weapons, which is the weapons master, if you didn't know, with Soto, whether or not you own the expansion, say you're an engineer, right? Normally only scrappers can use hammer, but if you're a regular core NG, if you're a holosmith, if you're a scrapper, if you're a mechanist, every flavor of engineer will now be able to use hammer, and that extends for every weapon across that are in the game right now. And then later, we're all of the classes are getting additional weapons with a parentheses around that. Some are getting 2, some are getting 1. So a lot of that, the on release version of that, where everything's getting every other weapon, especially with the sort of homogenizing of the game that they've done for better or worse. Like you said, it did sort of work out for PvE eventually, but it just, to me, it takes the flavor away from a lot of elite specs, and I hope they address that in the like distant future.
All right, I actually, I was initially very excited when I heard this, because I think in terms of fun factor, it's a fun change, right?
Yes, it's almost like multi-classing Guild Wars 1.
Yeah, it's just a fun change. You're like, oh, this is my favorite weapon, but I don't want to play, I want to play Greatsword, but I don't want to play Vindicator. Like, right. That's fun. But I actually think in the long term, this is one of the worst like design decisions they've ever made in the game.
Really?
I think you're gonna have so many weapons that will just stop being used. You're gonna have different elite specs of the same class start to feel more similar to play.
Yes.
Right? Like okay, like to use the Vindicator example, if Vindicator is supposed to be like Revenant's power DPS build, right? You can tune the damage it does by altering the greatsword. But now if Herald takes it, like congrats, Herald now does more damage, and you can't balance Herald without also affecting
right,
Vindicator.
You can't say like Greatsword does less damage on Herald just because.
Exactly.
Unless you put a Greatsword trait back on Vindicator, and that's even worse because they're getting rid of all those traits.
It's just so messy, and like yes. I get what they were going for. They wanted to have an extra feature. It's
not even a feature of the expansion though. It's just a feature they're funding with the expansion, which is why it's weird.
No, it's in the expansion. It's in the expansion.
You don't need the expansion to get this.
No, you need the expansion.
No, you don't.
To get it.
No, yeah, I think it's just a general change for the game.
Yeah.
That is insane if that's true.
They're also the new weapons they're adding is also a general change for the game.
Well,
I don't know.
I thought they were both Soto, but I could be wrong.
The new ones might just be Soto, but the weapon mastery is definitely for everybody.
I promise both are for everybody.
I don't know if this
choices.
is the logic they went down, but the biggest complaint I've heard about this game from people that it never clicked with was they hated that your skills were tied to your weapon. Like, they wanted skills from a short bow, but they liked the look of a greatsword more. And I think, like, this opens that up to just allow people to be more free with the flavor, but I agree. The mechanics of the game were based around those skills being locked to weapons, and the balance will never be the same after this goes through.
Especially as someone who likes to complain about Warrior all the freaking time, they already can't balance. Like, Warrior has a bunch of weapons. Like, 4 of them are useful. If they already can't balance, like, that mess and won't update it, I don't want to think about what's going to happen to, like, now that everything has every other weapon plus another thing. It's going to be crazy. Like, hopefully they got more funding or can hire more people for their balance team or something, because it's gonna be ridiculous.
I mean, in a long-term sense, this change makes sense to me if their plan is to not release any more elite specs, but instead to release like alternate weapon skills for the weapons that exist.
So
I think that is a good point. It does open that, and they did add this to the UI recently to accommodate Untamed Hammer on non-untamed. Is that they added, you know how like you can click the arrow above your utility skills? Mm-hmm. Now there is in the game the ability to do that over your weapon skills. So I agree there's probably going to be something in the future to alternate your weapon skills in some fashion. Maybe the next expansion, that'll be the feature there. But yeah, without that information now, it feels like a really short-sighted decision, and it's one of the things that I really am not looking forward to long term.
Ask me how I know that they did that.
How did you know that they did that?
Because all of the like flashing icons on Bladesworn right now don't line up, and they still haven't fixed it.
Because it's like down a half a centimeter or something. Oh yeah, it is annoying. It's true just of every class, but I guess it doesn't flash at you.
So like when you go into Dragon Trigger, all of them are wrong. And it's like, I had to show this to Guy last night when we were roaming. He was like, "Oh man, no, mine are screwed too." I was like, "Yep." It's so funny. It's just weird. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's gonna be a wild world. Hopefully, I don't want to wish ill on anybody, but maybe other classes getting some attention of, hey, this weapon hasn't been balanced in an actual century and kind of sucks. Will get get some attention on old weapons, not just on warrior, but on everything that haven't been touched since the Stone Age.
Well, they've been doing that too. Like a lot of weapons have been reworked and are a lot more updated to use.
Yes. I mean, even warrior
And I
did
think-
get a rework, but
Yeah, I think they'll just continue to do that.
hopefully.
That's not my worry so much. My worry is just that, like take for example. I mean, I'm sorry to keep going on Rev,
go
but I
for
think
it.
Rev
You
is
play
like
Rev,
the.
I play warrior. Go for it.
I think Rev is also like the one of the best candidates for talking about this new system because it's like sword, and greatsword fill the exact same function in PvE. So it's like if you are a PvE player, that wants to like optimize your play, you will always pick whatever one does more damage at the time, right?
could
There's
almost-
like no
Yeah.
way to differentiate them ever. Like
You could almost say that because it has the block, greatsword is just a better staff in PvP as well. I mean, it has the CC, but the greatsword's such a powerful weapon. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I don't play Rev in
yeah, I
PvP.
mean, I think staff 5 is so good.
Well, I guess
but
since they put the evade frame on the when you cast it, yeah,
it's more the like the lockdown of someone and like, but yeah, yeah. Point being is that you'll have weapons competing for each other that didn't previously compete for each other.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna be such a mess.
I mean, I'm gonna enjoy it while it's happening. It's
Oh,
gonna be,
of
you know,
course, it's
a
gonna be
flaming
fun.
fireball, but yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Like that beta weekend was super fun, but once the meta settles, that's when it's gonna be. People are gonna go, oh god, like no
Wake
one's
up and be
ever
like-
going to play this weapon ever again, right? Like,
I mean, eventually I did end up being wrong where I said, you know, people are just going to take when they announced that they were homogenizing boons and like giving alacrity to everything, quickness to everything, and taking away class specific buffs. I thought that was going to be terrible. But and the reason I thought it was going to be terrible was I just made the argument initially, after 2 seconds of thought, that people were just going to take whatever the best alacrity or the best quickness or the best whatever is in slot. And that did happen to an extent, but
that already happened, to be fair.
Right, we're already through that, I'd say. We're on the sort of other side of that, where they did make Druid playable-ish. They made Bladesworn
Druid's so
overly
good right now, by the way.
Right. And I'm just saying, like, we're through the Looking Glass, we're on the other side of that, and now they can sort of adjust that stuff. Granted, we have had 1.5 balance patches since they put that, all those boons in the game, and hopefully with Soto we get a, soft balance patch, or at least an announcement of a different one. So yeah, it's gonna be weird. How do you guys feel about the other weapons they announced for the classes, the professions?
I so wished that were their expansion release content.
And then everything got every weapon later, like flip them.
Yeah, or just not do that at all.
Yeah, I know, or just not do that. Yeah.
But if that had been like, buy the expansion, you're not getting elite spec, but you're getting a new weapon, that's perfect. I don't know why they didn't do that. I assume they weren't ready in time because they're releasing like months later, but it's so silly. That really should have been the expansion content that they pushed us towards.
When the new weapons, so they said February, so that's actually not till next year. That's gonna that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This feels like I can't remember was it like Heart of Thorns? This just feels like the last time they kind of scrambled to switch gears and then tried to figure out the easiest things they could give us first, so that they could put more effort into the things that they knew would take way too much time.
Well, what's really interesting is you could already sort of equip a weapon on not that specialization. You just had to jank it, right? You had to equip it in World versus World or the specialization, and then like swap the build template or whatever. And you can do it
that's
even before
extremely
build
different.
templates. Well, you couldn't use the skills; they were grayed out. Now they actually changed the system, and I know this because I've been slotted into PvP a million billion times since they did this. And if you don't have like Mirage in your PvEs tab, and you try to equip Mirage in PvP, it will unequip the axe, and then you just won't have an axe when your PvP match starts. Thanks, arenanet. But it does work if you have like the different build templates and stuff set up, and obviously once Soto releases, hopefully it'll just be homogenized. But excuse me, sorry, to eliminate that problem. But yeah, it's gonna be weird. I meant more specifically, what do you think of the weapons they've announced? Like, obviously, Guardian double pistol, the Golden Child.
It's hard to say because we have no idea what any of the weapons do, right?
Assuming it does mid-range like every other pistol in the game.
Yeah, but it's a huge assumption, right? There are a lot of weapons that don't function like other weapons.
I agree
right?
with you. Warrior sucks.
I mean, I think Raven is the class that they broke any expectation of what weapons do with, and now you can never know.
But even like a Mesmer Greatsword, right, on launch doesn't function like any other class's Greatsword. I just think, like, I'm excited. I think that is the best feature of the expansion. That is why I wish it were on launch. But I also think, without any knowledge, like I forget who did this. Oh, I think it might have been Wood Potatoes actually. He did a video where he was like speculating what each of the weapons did, and he was trying to fill what is a hole that this class, like a role that this class currently can't do, right? But then he comes across, and rightfully so, like, oh, like half of these weapons, if you follow this system, would just be healing weapons, right? And I don't think they'll be doing that. I could be wrong, but
I doubt it.
That seems not exciting for most players. It would be really exciting for me. I love heal builds, but so that's why I'm like, I hesitate to speculate at all what any of them are going to do.
With the exception of Warrior, I don't think any of them are support.
Yeah, Warriors, I feel like if they don't make Warrior support, I will be upset.
I won't be upset. I want it to be a throwing spear, and I want them to have lied. I'm dead serious about that.
I believe you. It's it's Healing Warriors time.
It can do both. We can fill both of them.
I actually think what they should do is they should make it a bruiser weapon that like has good healing coefficient. That'd be fine. The perfect solution in my mind.
Have you played the new God of War?
I only the first couple hours.
Okay. You eventually, spoilers, your third weapon is a thrown spear that teleports back to you whenever you slam the ground, and it's just used for stunning. So, and basically you can throw infinity spears into somebody and then slam the ground and they all break. So, it's if they just did that, but like Paragon style, I would be super happy, because Warrior basically doesn't have a mid-range weapon, and now that we're not getting pistols because God hates me, they need one. As far
That's
as
actually, how long ago did that game come out?
God of War, the second one?
A year and a half ago or something.
That's about the time frame in which they steal content whenever they get inspired from other games. So that actually might be what happens.
I hope so, because, and I really, really genuinely hope that it does get it, because it needs some kind of mid-range something, because longbow is considered a melee weapon by Cal, and rifle just ain't cutting it.
Wait, what do you
as
mean
good
longbow?
as it is.
All right, I don't want to get into the Warrior wormhole.
I asked him about this on a charity stream. I put in $10 to ask him about this, and he had all the other like OG Warrior developers, and he told them it was a melee weapon and explained why. And they were like, "But it's a good melee weapon." He's like, "Yeah, not anymore." And that was the end of the conversation. And that was a good use of my $10. But yeah, it's partially because the projectiles are so slow, and partially because it had the shotgun effect they added to everything else. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be weird. So Guardian's getting double pistols, Necro's getting double sword. Thief is getting what I do like that they are doing is, with the exception of things like Guardian and Warrior that are just probably getting like 5 skills, they seem to be giving things. And this is something I kind of called them out on chickening out when they announced Heart of Thorns. They seem to be giving things weapons that trigger the core class mechanic. So, like, Elementalist is just getting main hand pistol, but that also means that, like, Weaver is getting dual skills for the pistol, right? Like, same with Thief, which is just getting main hand axe, but then it's getting dual skills for the main hand axe.
A lot of combinations, yeah.
Right. So it's getting about the equivalent number of skills. Like, Revenant... Maybe the Scepter will just function differently with each of the legends, like people think Ritualist should.
Revenant's getting the short end of the stick on this one.
I will trade you my staff for your Scepter, sir.
Happily. It's 3 skills? 3 skills on a class that doesn't have any like weapon mechanics? Yikes. Well, but it's fine.
I guess...
And to add, on a class that so desperately needs new weapon archetypes.
But I mean, that's fair.
Bold choice.
You're also getting shortbow to start before that, so that kind of fills that hole. Because shortbow is just good.
Yeah, shortbow is very good.
They didn't make the Thief greatsword. This update sucks.
Pretty much. No, the funny thing is they didn't make the Thief the offhand sword. Because what's really funny is if you go to the Thief forums, all the Thief complaining is we should have gotten another offhand weapon, and it should have been sword.
Yeah, that's because they don't know how Thief works, yeah.
Well, also, if you go to the Warrior forums, it's all delete Warrior, and then below that, it's Warriors should have pistol main hand.
So your first problem was going to the Guildwars forums.
I don't know. They sometimes have good feedback. Like my post, go save Daring Dragon. Upvoted.
The good feedback on the Guildwars forums are your posts.
Hey, yo, whoa, watch it.
I love that take.
Got 20 likes. Thank you very much.
Oh my god.
I'm rolling in it. But yeah, it's a bad take. I don't know. It's gonna be weird. Let's see. What else is getting what? So Revenant's getting
Also,
Scepter.
Ellie not getting longbow is so offensive.
Yes, it is.
As a day one Ellie player, it's like, what are you guys doing? Why do you hate elementalists?
Watch the pistol be 1500 range somehow.
Is that the last weapon that they can summon that they don't have, or are there more?
They can't summon a longbow.
Oh, really? I thought that was.
It's a short bow, I think.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think it's a short bow. Yeah. But yeah, Ellie's have forever, like, what Ellie is missing in terms of its archetype is a long-range DPS, and they'll never get it. I think that is confirmation that arenanet will never give it to them.
That's true. They don't have a long-range DPS. I could be equally upset about that if I was an Ellie player. That's fair.
Yeah. I don't care because I like how Ellie plays, but it would have been a fun option, and it's definitely how I, back on the launch of the game, that's how I wanted Ellie to play.
Right. Yeah, that's a weird decision. The Ellie one's weird. Ellie's getting main hand pistol. Mesmer is getting rifle because Mesmer gets everything in the world. So here's the Mesmer question. What is rifle gonna do that dagger and greatsword already don't do because those are 1200 range? My guess is
It's a
B15.
melee weapon.
Yeah, it's either a shotgun or it's 1500 range.
Well, the take that I've heard that I really like, and I hope they do actually, is to make it like Ana in Overwatch and make it a healing weapon. Because they've been
like a healing sniper.
Yeah, they've been pushing a lot of like the target ally mechanic recently.
Even though that still doesn't work.
Well, it works. It's just it's janky. But
Yes.
my guess, I don't know if they'll do this because Mesmer, they really could go any direction. But I kind of hope they do. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And Mesmer, I admittedly have like that's one of the few heal builds I've never played.
Right.
But I imagine they need a weapon.
That feels like the best fit for what Mesmer already has, like doing the pistol bounce stuff, but for allies.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
that actually
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah. Sort of like bouncing healing bullets or something.
Yeah, if they
they're-
gave Mesmer and Warrior healing weapons and then no more, I think that would be like accepted by the community.
Mid-range healing weapons. Sorry. Yeah. What did I leave out? Ellie, Necro. Necro's gonna be crazy. Sword, Necro, sword. What is it? They can't do pistol, but they could do sword, greatsword. That'd be fun.
Everyone will get their RP on with sword necro for
It's
sure.
fun. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's cool.
But I also have no idea how it'll play because like necro has a lot of good
Right.
weapon options already.
It'll be a ranged weapon, like Sea Monster said.
Yeah.
So that's low light classes. Medium is thief, and then okay, here's the one that's blowing my brain out. What are maces gonna do that hammer doesn't do on ranger?
Oh, on ranger.
I think ranger's just gonna be better warrior at the end of all this. I'm not kidding. It's just
Yeah, I mean, I assume they'll be similar to warrior maces.
yeah.
I have to assume.
It's just break skills that you could slot in if you wanted to still take like a main hand damage weapon or something. Unless they're healing weapons too. No, they get staff. They don't need it.
Oh, I did want to say about weapons opening up to all classes because I was really critical of it. I think the one positive outcome is that we will see new build archetypes that like previously just couldn't function, right? Like you're
Hopefully.
gonna have like heal quick untamed, right?
Yes.
And I think that is probably a good thing for the game. I just wish there were a way to do it that it didn't come at the cost of some of these other things that I was complaining about earlier.
So we can segue into that. As soon as, NG's getting short bow, which I think is a really good choice. I could be wrong about that. Maybe they want more customization. I don't play NG really. I don't know.
But NGs are not happy about it. I personally am excited for it, but yeah.
Interesting.
I think
Why?
the
Because they
NG
already have
complaint.
rifle?
Yeah, the NG complaint is it's like, oh, we already have two-hand weapons that do everything. We have
Right.
rifle that is ranged. We have pistol that is ranged condi. What is short bow gonna do?
They should really just
And
get
then-
an offhand weapon or something.
That's what. Okay, so I actually had this discussion with someone. They were like, I just wish we got an offhand,
Like focus.
an offhand power weapon, right?
Right.
Because right now their only offhand option is pistol and shield.
Right.
And it's like shield is the power option, but there's no power DPS option.
They should be getting
but
the
I-
maces, like offhand mace or something. And
I was
something
like,
else.
I think arenanet was of the impression if we gave a class 2 weapon skills, like they would riot. So that's why they didn't do it.
What do you mean 2 weapon skills?
Like if they gave an offhand weapon and
just-
nothing else to engineer,
right.
like engineers who don't want to play power offhand would be like,
Let's just give them two
what
different
the
types
heck?
of weapons. That's a stupid excuse. That's
Well,
how like how warrior should have gotten staff and pistol.
Again, all speculation, but
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
we know how good arenanet is producing
Right.
content quickly.
And talking to each other between different departments. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird. I agree with that. That's strange, man. What is this chess piece? Okay, you're just Tron now. Oh, that's the Black Lion thing from last week. Right. I'm getting distracted. So, engineers getting short bowed. We go over all the heavy ones. Revs getting scepter. Warriors getting fucked. Guardians getting double pistols. Warriors getting staff. Let's see what it plays like. In my mind, Guardian's the winner. I think the Rev one's interesting, but you don't, so we'll call that.
No, I think the Rev one is. I think Rev is the biggest loser of all of this. But again, without knowing any of the weapon skills, it's just all speculation, right? I actually think Warrior might be the biggest winner out of it all.
Maybe. We'll see.
But we, again, don't know what anything does, so...
I think Warrior will be the biggest winner just because they don't want to balance any of the other weapons that it already has, and they've shown that time and time and time again. They literally haven't updated, like, any of the skills, actually, since the Stone Age, except for removing the ammunition charge on rifle and changing it in evade frame. So
yeah, they just reworked rifle. What are you talking about?
They didn't rework it. They just removed the long cooldowns, and then they stuck the evade frame at the start instead of the end. Or at the end instead of the start. And people don't like that. Although, what's his name? Guy does, so they're probably all wrong. He's very good at Warrior. I don't know. I just think that, especially with Bladesworn, my opinion is arenanet has this habit of just dumping more shit onto Warrior as a band-aid instead of updating it. So, I don't know. Hopefully that'll change.
I think it's a game-wide thing. I don't think it's Warrior-specific.
Yeah, fair enough. That's kind of what I see the new weapons as well, which I really don't want them to... That was when when we brought this up, what I was saying was, I don't want the introduction of new weapons, or the just proliferation of just whatever's the best to prevent them updating old weapons on other things. So
yeah, I agree.
I mean, I hope that the development budget is there, with them not doing elite specs, to go in... I mean, they've already said they want to get rid of the cooldowns on all the weapon traits, but especially if we're just adding power to the game. Have you looked at some of the weapon traits lately? Like, I was building a Mesmer. I was like, how did they make the scepter stuff baseline without just making this cracked?
Yeah.
Like, some of those weapon traits are Grandmasters, and they're Grandmasters for a reason, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they just have to rework a lot of it.
Yeah. So hopefully we get a complete overhaul of the trade system, too. Just ancillary, I think that would be amazing. Not complete overhaul, but the stuff that's not used. So just rounding this out, who do you think is getting screwed by Part 1 and Part 2 the most? I think Part 1, we've talked about this a little bit, I think Part 1, Deadeye followed by Scrapper is getting screwed the most, where you can just use everything on everything else. Because those are, to me, those specializations are just very much just their weapon.
Well,
useful traits.
I don't know that I agree, because Scrapper, like, heal quick Scrapper is going to be so much more viable with Mace.
I'm more, yeah, I should have specified, I'm more meant conceptually. Versus execution.
Conceptually.
We can do conceptually versus execution as well. So the when we used to rate, like, Heart of Thorns and POF specs, we would do concept versus execution, and we would give both a rating. Like, to me, Bladesworn is a very cool concept, but it's butthole execution, so it gets a 10 and a 1. Or a 10 and a 2. But, like, it's... I guess conceptually, to me, Deadeye is just all the flavor of it's in Rifle, and signed to similar with Scrapper. Like, Scrapper still has very good traits, and so does Deadeye. Like, Scrapper has that thing that converts damage into barrier. But, to me, you can sort of spec into Scrapper right now, especially in, like, PvP and World vs. World. Well, I guess the World vs. World has the gyros. I don't know. Maybe I take that back.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree on Deadeye either. Like,
top,
like I think you're right that thematically, like, Rifle is the Deadeye thing.
Right.
But there's so many Deadeye builds that use, like, Dagger, for example, right? I think people really like that, and I think I saw whispers of, like, a Scepter Condi Deadeye build going to be possible. But I don't think it's that bad. But again, I think about it way more mechanically. No, I'm saying it's getting Spectre Scepter.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right.
I think I agree that the weapons are the flavor of the lead spec, but I think they've kind of always been, like, I think Deadeye to me has almost never felt flavorfully like it's supposed to be, because some of the cooler Deadeye builds don't even give a shit about the rifle.
Yeah.
I feel like you're gonna run the rifle on a cord that even feel like a Deadeye, and then run a good build on Deadeye that doesn't use rifle and not feel like a Deadeye. But that's kind of always been how it's been.
Yeah. That's a great trait. How are they gonna remove the rifle Deadeye trait?
Wait, which one?
Okay, so some of that didn't actually occur to me. So some of the weapon traits are on specializations. Like Greatsword, I think Necro still has, or Reaper still has one on Greatsword. The one that makes you, the perma-stealth Deadeye one for World vs. World, where when you dodge roll, you gain stealth. That's like how it plays. So how in the world do they remove that trait?
I mean, that's what we'll see if they're doing a balance patch. Because if they don't, it's everything's just gonna be janky.
Oh, with a rifle equipped.
Right.
You're totally right. That is very weird.
So if you take that trait away and just give it to rifle, then Daredevil is literally the most powerful thing in the game, and PvP becomes 5 stacks of Daredevils. I mean, it's a hyperbole, but still.
I don't know that that's true, but I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And then if
they've nerfed Deadeye in PvP so many times, and for good reason.
No, I know that, but like.
I think that's what confuses me about doing the Weapon Master first instead of new weapons, because I think new weapons take a lot more design and like animations and all of the things that making new skills needs, but balance-wise, it's way more difficult to implement the Weapon Master thing. So that's what I'm kind of nervous about, is like, are they just going to ignore that part and leave it broken until they slowly fix it over the course of the next year?
I mean, that's why we're getting this first and not, I guess, the weapons patch first, right? Because they're like the take weapon traits away patch, because that's like core to Deadeye identity almost, that trait. Maybe it'll be like dodge with a ranged weapon equipped, but that's still a weapon trait. I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think for this patch to work, they kind of have to also remove all those traits and replace them on launch, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Maybe
so
they
I don't
do that.
know how it's going to go down.
Oh man. Because previous to all the other expansions, we've had some kind of huge balance patch. Like the one for Path of Fire was enormous.
I definitely expect a balance patch.
Yeah. I mean, there has to
I would be shocked if they don't. Like, yeah, they have to do like LE Warhorn. If they don't do LE Warhorn, like, I will be shocked.
Oh, you mean just because like non-weavers will be able to do like 60k on whatever hitbox?
Well, non-Tempest, but yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, that's what the beta showed me. There's some, I thought there would be way more busted combinations, but the one that are busted are nuts. It's just surprising to me how many aren't that great.
Some of the skills they're adding are kind of crazy. So, I mean, if you didn't get a chance, they already had a beta for a lot of the weapons where you could try out using the existing weapons on other ones. We didn't get the new ones, but you could use like a dagger on a berserker, for example, and try out the dog shit burst skill that berserkers get. Hopefully they're tuning things up and down based on feedback, but some of the like Phantom Razor on Mirage, I had people tell me this was bad. So if you don't know Mirage ambushes, when they dodge, they get the ability to use an ambush, and you have a trait that everything runs in every game mode because it's busted, called Infinite Horizon. Your clones also do the ambush. And Daze skills also do power damage, and Mirage currently has the ability to do an ambush where it will do Condi or Daze. The Sword 1 dazes, and all your illusions daze when they hit. But the illusions don't actually do power damage when they hit, because that would be insane. The new Mirage ambush is called Phantom Razor. It hits from 1200 range because dagger is still 1200 for some reason. It dazes for 1/4 of a second and does 2 stacks of bleeding and 2 stacks of torment and pierces 5 targets. And I was told that was bad, in addition to doing power damage. I don't want to fight that. Ever. I play Mirage and I don't want that, because that is the level of busted we're getting to. Like, some of the Untamed ambushes were crazy. So I don't know, man. Either everything's gonna be nuts or nothing's gonna be nuts, or we'll see. I guess, I don't know. Let it ride.
I do think that's generally their design now, is that everything is nuts.
Yeah, I guess. Unshakable.
Yeah, I mean, like you said before, I think I used to hate the power creep, but I've been starting to come around on it, because I've been playing with a few new players and just running them through dungeons to get exotic gear, And it's kind of nice to just be able to like solo a dungeon and not have them need to know the game.
Right. Like, hey,
Yeah, but I think on the flip side, it like makes the game less engaging. Like I agree. I think for the mass majority of players, it's a positive change because like if you look at other MMOs, like there isn't as large a disparity in a good and bad player's output, right? Like look at a game like I've played a lot of classic World of Warcraft, right? And it's like the absolute best of someone in a class will maybe at best do 150% of someone who's average, right? But like in Guild Wars, you can do like 6,000% times the damage of someone that doesn't know what they're doing, right? So I think for most players, it's a good decision, but I think it also makes the game less engaging, and I think they need to address that in some way.
I think
And
it
I
removes a
don't
lot of
think
the
they will.
flavor.
I mean, it's not even like a flavor thing. It's just like certain bosses, like you phase now without seeing mechanics. Like I was saying, that Samurag where no one had to interact with the CC bar, that was like boring, you know. And I say this as a jaded veteran, and you know maybe those guys were having fun, but I was just like, we're not doing the fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're just on DPS columns, and everyone's bad, but are carried by the fact that they just happen to do enough damage, right? It just wasn't fun.
I get what you're saying. It's like how Keep Construct has mechanics no one knows about because you just always did enough damage to skip them.
Yeah, for sure.
Course of all updrafts haven't been a thing in years. Like,
Yeah,
that's just the conventional way of doing the fight.
That's even the more fun way to do the fight.
Right. No, it's...
But even the worst of groups don't even know that that's a mechanic,
right.
You know?
It's just more damage, let us skip stuff. And that's kind of like, even, I was thinking about that when we were getting the end of Harvest Temple, where it was like, if you have enough damage, you can just skip half of this crap, and then the fight becomes easier.
For sure.
It's just, you know, we
like
got
the third greens becomes so much harder.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like, you have to think about stuff and adapt, and it's like, you know, where's the balance? Where should you have to do
Granted,
stuff?
I actually think Harvest Temple, like, besides the fact that it is very punishing, I think that is my only real criticism of the fight, but I think the balance is correct, right? It's like, we were a high DPS group, but not like an insane DPS group.
Right.
And as a high DPS group, we were finishing comfortably after the second round of mechanics, whereas an extremely high group would finish right before the second, right? I think that's a good place for it to be. I would like to see, I would like to see a lot of the old bosses in the game get a health rebalance to match those numbers.
I don't know how they could make the community accept that.
Yeah, I don't think they could. It's what I would want, you know?
Without agreeing with Teapot's jaded veteran raiders too much, where they just, like, yell at new players and shame them and then quit and don't play the game.
No, that's not what Teapot does. That's a Teapot slander. I'm not even a big Teapot guy, but that's
his
some
audience
slander,
has
some
gotten
libel.
No, he's fine.
His
audience has gotten very jaded lately, and
they're all doomers. It's true.
Well, it's just because they've been playing this game forever. Like, I'm a doomer to an extent, so are you. We already had to call that out. Like, we have been playing this game forever and are jaded as crap. If you're new to the game, it's wonderful. This game is awesome. Don't think that way, or don't think that even we think that way. But like, I think that would be very difficult to get the community to accept because they're trying to get more people into content, and I think you know that. But I would also like to see that, just conceptually.
I mean, they already, like, Emboldened mode, right? Like, Emboldened is functionally doing that. And, you know, where it's like your DPS truly doesn't matter. Like, all that matters is, can you do the very base mechanics that the boss requires, right?
Right.
And, I don't have the metrics that arenanet does. I hope it's been successful.
Really
I know
interesting to see them.
Yeah, it would be really interesting. But I don't know. I feel like we're at the point in the balance of the game where it's like everything does enough damage that you already aren't thinking about mechanics. So I would love to see them make mechanics matter at least a little bit, you know?
Yes, I would like them to maybe there's a way of doing that without just adding health. Like, they could stealth do it, like add just like checks to the boss where it just stops taking damage, which everyone already hates, but I don't know, it would force you to do mechanics. Because there's a bunch of bosses where it's like, you know, this just goes invulnerable and everyone's like, oh, this isn't fun, I can't whack the boss. And it's like, then do that thing. I don't know. That also just makes fights longer, so...
Yeah, I think a health pass is the move, but I don't think they'll ever do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a different way they could do it, and I'm going to say something unpopular. I think if they just like nerf the efficacy of might or whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's another way.
Like there's plenty of ways they could do it. They could make everything not be able to crit cap, which is
Oh,
something Tay has suggested forever.
No. You should crit cap in this game. I actually think that's a really good decision. It's
with the way the game has evolved, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I like it on launch too. Like variants in other games can be really frustrating. It's nice to just be like have a complete build.
Playing Heal Blade Sworn on Harvest Temple without 100% crit chance. Did you look at my damage like variable from run to run? Like some runs it would be like 4,000, and some runs it would be like 1k, and that's you can tell the ones that I got crits on Dragon Trigger on. Because it's like, oh, I did 20,000 damage there. Oh, I did 60,000 damage with that one. So funny. Yeah, it's weird, dude. Brave New World. A lot of stuff to be excited about. A lot of stuff to be cautiously optimistic, and a lot of stuff to be skeptical about for next week. Flying combat mount's gonna be crazy.
Real quick before we go to that, one last comment I have about nerfing boss HP. I don't think they will do that because I think that's a lot of work, and I also think that they have adopted sort of a policy of legacy content. Like I don't think they're openly saying this, but I do think
that's true.
They're okay with some level of power creep because like the longer content has been around, like it should become easier. I think a lot of people view it that way. So I think they're okay with that to a certain extent. I think if they don't do balance like that, they need to just be releasing more bosses. Like just straight up more bosses.
I mean, we're getting
that match. Yeah.
I think arenanet always struggled with that. They've never really gone back to old stuff unless they felt forced to. And I think also with boss design, they've been very hit or miss around like not making it skippable with high DPS. And like I think Harvest Temple is a great example of them trying really hard to put a lot of stuff you have to pay attention to, and you really do have to work as a group to some degree. I think they've done better in other cases. I think Harvest Temple is just, it only feels that way because of how long it is. But
yeah,
I don't know. They're not great at
reiterating,
utilizing all of their balance in their encounters.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to again just think. I mean, just my off-the-cuff idea was just like double all of the bosses' HP from like Heart of Thorns and half of them from Path of Fire. But yeah,
have them for Path of Fire? Oh my god, you break the game.
No, double them and double half of the ones from Path of Fire because Doom already is kind of oppressive. But it's I don't know. And they couldn't really be like, hey, we're doubling the boss's HP, but hey, new rewards, come back and play our content, because that would just appeal to the, jaded veterans that, like us, that want to do that, so...
Yeah, I'm torn, because it's like, I love raids, I think they're really fun, but you're right, it's like, they're not going to add new rewards. The best thing that I can hope for... Yeah, the best thing that I can hope for that they touch up on raids is, they make a gold sync for LI. I think that's probably the only actual reasonable thing that raiders can expect to happen to raids at this point.
I think there's something even better, and this is the number one suggestion I have for this game in general. And we had about a year ago, I did this thing where I wanted everyone in the guild to contribute ideas to, no, it was 2 years ago, whatever. Time is an illusion. Where everyone contributed ideas to suggestions they could, like, to make the game better, or what they'd like to see, and then we discussed it as a guild, and I had it in the Discord for, like, a while. I want more cross-game mode stuff. And one of the biggest things I want in this game is you to be able to use the stupid trophies you get from raids, and some way to do it for strike missions too, if they get the development budget for it, to craft limited use, very powerful tactivators for World versus World.
Well, it's not quite tactivators, but dude, that's the Wizard Vault.
Yeah.
They've done it. They've made a reward system that spans the whole game, gets people into all sorts of content. I do think, like I complained about Weapon Master, but I think the Vault is probably going to be one of the best things for the long term of the game, like ever.
It makes me want to play the game, and I haven't seen any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've personally always hated daily achievements in all games, so that's what I'm most excited about.
Which is funny because it is a daily, monthly, weekly system. It's just it will revitalize like certain content that needs to be.
Yeah, but I
Or-
mean, I think it seems. What do they say? It's like weekly or monthly. Like you don't have to do the same stuff every single day. You can just kind of like choose what you want to do at
Yeah.
your own pace. So I think that's what always pisses me off about dailies is I log in, I'm inspired to do some random thing, but then I'm like, oh, I also want to. Now that I'm logged on, I want to do my dailies, and it's not at all what I was gonna have fun with. So I'm just doing this tedious thing for
Right.
10, 20 minutes, and then it makes me want to log off because I'm bored.
Right. No, it's gonna be interesting. I hope they get the balance right. Oh my god, one of the dudes looks like Kratos. I hope they get the balance right of like, and they adjust it going forward, which they said they would do, but that's a meme at this point. For example,
of the vault.
yeah, because I don't want there to be activities that just end up not being done because they don't give enough rewards or because they take too much
that's
time.
going to happen. There's no way you can avoid that. People
They
will
can
always
absolutely balance that after the fact.
Yeah, but they can balance it. But people that are only focused in doing the most efficient stuff will only do the most efficient stuff. And I think that's just a subset of players that it's fine. Like you're just going to play around them, and if they put if they put a clear wing 4 this week, right? Like you're going to get more players doing wing 4 just baseline. Like and the players that are concerned only with optimization probably won't do that, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's not what I mean. I mean just like things that are... I mean, that's just the meta build argument, right? There'll always be stuff like a meta way to clear the wizard's, whatever it is, the wizard's vault that day.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure there'll be a site for that or something on Guild Gen, like, here, do these, they're easy. Similar to how there is, like, for the festival dailies. It's like, here's, the ones that are easy. I more just meant I don't want there to be things that I'm just never incentivized to do because they abandon the system, because it's arenanet. Like, if I wasn't a PvP player, I would never, ever touch that PvP daily because getting through 5 reward tracks is ridiculous and they should nerf that.
Yeah.
Like, for a daily.
I mean, that's a silly number.
Right, and they should know that. And I don't want that to extend to other stuff.
You get to select the game mode that you like.
I don't care. I want it to be good, and I want them to be aware of their content. If there was a jumping puzzle that took 20 minutes, I would want it to reward me.
I'm certain that they will make it so that you can complete them with a similar amount of time in each game mode, right?
I'm not so worried about that. Right the fuck now. What are we betting? And what's the time period?
I have no idea how long each is going to take. Like, the reward track thing obviously looks absurd, but I don't think they're going to be like, you have to do PvE for it. Like, the part of the whole system is that you're doing whatever game mode you like, right? They'll definitely balance it in that regard.
I hope so, man. The 100 or
I'm not even remotely worried about that.
The 120 PvP games or whatever the crap it is says otherwise, but we'll see. They did slightly nerf that, to be fair, after it came out, so we'll see. Also, Daikruz says hi from my Twitch chat. He's one of the dope dudes that sometimes hangs out. So
hey, man.
What's up, dude? Yeah, it will be huge. So yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I'm looking forward again to... I mean, say what you will about arenanet marketing, but apparently they had an embargo, and when the embargo dropped, there were like literally 20 sites that had articles on this, which is nothing, but still it's more than I thought they were going to do. So, credit to them for doing that. I don't know.
Yeah, their marketing's been okay. I understand that they are limited on funds and they are pushing the things that they're only doing the things that I think will be absolutely the most effective, and that is, they have a teaser, they have a week before, there's lots of news articles to generate hype, and then I really hope day of they launch a trailer. This expansion desperately needs a trailer, like a real trailer.
It was good.
Yeah, it just really needs it. It's not. They need to generate some hype in that way, and I think that's how they do it, because they've, they had that comment where they were like, our most effective marketing has been day of, because that's the type of players we get in the game, right?
I guess that makes sense. It's just, it hurts my soul as someone who works in marketing. It's I don't know, word of mouth is always very sketchy.
Yeah.
So it's
but I mean, they're targeting free-to-play players. That's the because anyone who actually likes the game is already clued into all of the news, right? It's any marketing they're doing is not for them.
Well,
they're targeting free-to-play Fairweather fans.
That was what I always pretend, or that's the first thing I ask all of my clients is, well, who is your target market? And the target market for End of Dragons was very much new players.
Yeah.
Like almost to the point of pissing off their entire veteran community, to pissing off the point their veteran community in a lot of respects. They didn't have.
And I think they're doing that again with this.
I think they're following up with this. Because Relics, to someone who doesn't play this game, doesn't mean anything. Skyscale doesn't mean anything.
Skyscale means something.
Okay, it's a dragon, but I guess.
No, I do think one of the few things from talking to other friends who play other MMOs, one of the very few things they know about Guild Wars is that WoW stole Skyscales, and that Guild Wars is known for really good mounts.
That's fair. Okay, if it's working for them, I can't argue with that.
I think that's one of the only things people actually know.
I mean, that's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I hope that... I agree. I think it's targeting free-to-play players. I do think it's, like, giving more support to the players that they've picked up over the last couple of years. But,
yeah.
I mean, I think this game doesn't... It's never had a clear target audience, because I don't think it appeals to a majority of MMO genre fans, and I don't think it appeals to casual gamers in the way they want it to. I don't know, like, I think word of mouth has always been weird for this game, because at least in my anecdotal experience, like, I've never gotten anyone hooked on this game because the type of game, they're, like, interested in the game at first glance, but then they start to get into the systems and they get turned off by it because it just goes too deep for what they're actually looking for.
It's a I mean, the first thing I ask people when they join the guild is, what are your goals? Because it's a very set your own goals game. Very few people are like, you know, Slade, who did literally everything in the game and then quit because he, you know, filled out his legendary armory and was done.
Well, that's what's so good about the Wizard's Ball, right? I think there are a lot of players, from friends of mine that have gotten into the game, but then, like, hit 80 and then they're like, they lose interest.
Right, what do
I
do now?
This solves that for them, right? But more than that, you said something else. Oh, yes, just that the game is very contradictory, right? It's like, it's the most complex and intense combat system with a free-to-play, like, open-world casual audience. It's very weird.
Where you really don't even need gear anymore. You can just use the exotic celly they give you.
Yeah.
So it's just... I had that thought, too, where it's like, exotic celly is great for PvE, and even World versus World, because it's good, and you can just clear raids with it now. Like,
yeah,
it's... I hate it in World versus World because it's ruining roaming, but if that has to be the thing we sacrifice to, like, get, you know, everybody to be able to clear raids and have zero excuse to do, you know, sub 20k damage, you know, just go practice, fine. Just use the gear you level up with. I don't care. You can be a boon support. Doesn't matter. They know that. That's why they give it to you. It's so weird. Yeah. Now, this game, someone posted on Reddit, that a comment that sticks in my mind is, this game is the free-to-play Final Fantasy 14, and it's always been that way. And I haven't played a second of 14, and all I know it's filled with cat girls and Asian MILFs, but, like, that makes sense. I mean, it's a very pretty game. It's a very, you know, you don't need gear to play it, and that's why I chose it. I didn't want to pay a monthly subscription, even though we're sort of doing that now, but we're getting more content, so who knows?
Well, we're getting a yearly subscription for the cost of a month and a half of any other MMO.
Yeah.
I'm totally cool with it. Anyone complaining about the price is unhinged.
Yeah, this game's definitely been the best cost out of the MMO genre. But I mean, I think that comparison is weird because I think maybe visually and, like, thematically, but I think mechanically Final Fantasy is completely just like WoW style MMO, right? It's like way more old school, and it satisfies what, like, a true genre fan wants. But I think that's, to me, what the problem with this game is. I think it, like, dips its toes into those mechanics, but not in a satisfying way for MMO fans, and in a way that's just completely confusing and, like, unacceptable for non-MMO fans.
I totally agree. Like, this game was absolutely, no question, designed to be a PvP game.
Yeah, and it's great that way.
They didn't capture the PvP audience for whatever reason. Well, for many reasons that we could talk about for forever. And it is my great disappointment about this game, but whatever. But
PvP, they totally care about cheaters. Continue.
But that is what the game was designed for, and it doesn't have that. And we are fortunate enough that the game survived not getting a PvP like audience.
It is a miracle of nature that World versus World survived 10 years without getting a single update and is as popular as it is.
I think that, like, the best work these devs ever did was before 2012.
Yeah, agreed.
Well,
yeah, whoever just, like, whoever made movement and combat That's who made the game good.
Yes.
Some good ideas.
And then they all quit, and it's been sad. I've been sad since.
Oh man, Robert G's still there. He works on Mesmer. He's great.
Fair.
Well, flip side, I do think some of the raid content is phenomenal. Like
Yes.
Wing 4, Wing 5, not Wing 4, but Wing 5.
I think a lot of them
is incredible, right?
are
Like
pretty good. I really
Wing
like
6.
Wing 6 visually. It granted, like Wing 5 is almost all. We had this when we used to raid. We had this content. I have no idea how long this podcast is gonna go, but when we used to raid every week, Slade's group had this conversation where Wing 5 is almost all RNG and Wing 6 is almost 0 RNG. Like Wing 6 is all prep the fight and everyone knows what to do and they execute. Like with all the Kadim stuff. Same thing with Wing 7 to an extent. And Wing 5 is like, oh, I missed an orb on Doom. Guess we restart the fight because I got a bad layout.
No. That's deterministic too.
Well, I guess it's also hyperbole, but I think there's a lot more RNG in some wings than others, but that's just how raids are designed, and that's like you can clearly see that from that designer.
My point mainly was just that, like, yeah, I agree. The best work on the game was done before the game was launched, and it's just like coasted on that forever. But there has been good, like, they did a very nice job pivoting the game to become a PvE game.
I think so.
Yeah, no, I really agree. I mean, raids are what got me interested in PvE again, because I quit dungeons in like 2013. I only ever did fractals for achievement points. To me, this game, the only game mode that showcased what this game can be was Conquest, and like sometimes
100%,
Warver's World roaming, but yeah, like but that's also been dead since, I mean, probably always. But I think like raids really are one of the only things when they were coming out, and then I think strikes are starting to get there, sort of. At least Harvest Temple felt that way, of like showcasing what the game can be to a point where I actually wanted to go back and try that content.
What's the next word that they're just gonna call a raid fight?
I think it's. I genuinely think it is strikes from here on out. I don't think they're gonna change anymore.
Because they're just single release things that they don't have to design environments for without trash.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like they have figured out a way to streamline so that they can cater to story players and instance content players. I don't think they're ever going to
I think the biggest
revamp the wheel.
Is they're not called raids. Because I think that intimidates a lot of people
for some people.
In this game. It
yeah,
works for a lot of people, but people getting
super
into this game,
dumb,
I think,
but
are
it works.
intimidated as fuck by that.
Yeah, I mean, raids in this game were never raids. I think that it was always dumb for them to call it that.
I do
maybe,
wonder.
I don't know. I haven't raided any
wonder
other
if they
game,
had.
but they don't give me the same impression.
You said you haven't raided in other games.
No, this is the only like MMO I've really ever played other than RuneScape.
I think they're similar. They're obviously very different just because the combat's so different, but they like follow like similar. You know, it's like boss trash kind of stuff, and big group. I think they deserve to be called raids.
Okay.
The only thing I have to compare is like very high tier dungeons from a very old MMO that I wouldn't even call an MMO, so I'm no help here. Daikuru actually brought up an interesting point in chat. As far as the Wizard's Vault goes, this is one thing that I forgot to point out when I was talking about it a little bit, my little news thing I did. The ability to choose the order of what reward you get, or basically just use the currency to buy stuff so you don't have to play the whole pass or whatever it is, or whatever, period of time, is huge.
Yeah, it's a great choice.
Where, like, they actually have things that people will feel like are meaningful at all tiers. Like, buy some Mystic Coins, buy some, I don't even know what's above Mystic
Griffin
Coins.
skin.
Yeah, that's like top, probably, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And then some armor maybe in there, or weapons or whatever. And yeah, that's really cool, and I love that you can't buy it with money. I genuinely mean that.
I mean, I think this system to me is, it's honestly, it feels like a light at the end of the tunnel for this game's history of design, because I think it's the first time they really looked at the whole game, how it already works, how players interact with currencies, and design something really about Guild Wars instead of looking at what works in other games and trying to port it over. They really made a system that's true to the DNA of this game, which I feel like most of the quality of life updates haven't always done that, or have done that after they released in updates.
No, I totally agree. I think if arenanet is singularly good at anything, it is making other game systems consumer friendly.
Yeah.
And I think that has probably kept them afloat for a very long time. No, I actually think it's kind of silly even that they don't have a premium track on it, because that would just probably print them money. And I wonder who at the top made the decision not to do that. Like, but I as a player, I really appreciate it.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
I'd guess Colin, because I actually
Well, it's
think he really
it's Grouch
does
now,
care
right?
about that stuff.
well, Colin's game director and Grouch.
I guess
Colin is studio director. Grouch is game
he's
director.
studio director. Yeah, he's probably, you're right.
Because I mean, I don't know. I went to I was like a huge fanboy of Guild Wars 1, so I went to the pre-release PAX events
Oh, that's cool.
before this game came out. I talked to Colin, and he was really the dev I think I had the most faith in terms of really just trying to keep the price of this game as free as possible, really making it player focused and just like about spending time in the game to have fun and not yeah, just really like any predatory ways to make money. Like his philosophy was always like, we'll make money because the game is just that fun.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Like we'll make a good product and we don't need all the money in the world. That's really good. I was gonna say they're having another one in September. Let's fucking go. I'm trying to convince Edmonton to put me up for free, and if he will, I probably will go. But if not, I don't see myself flying out to Seattle just to also pay for a hotel. I also don't want to they need to keep me away from Cal because I will just start complaining about Warrior and he will just walk the fuck away.
Oh my god. Dude, he would be like, who is this absolutely insane person?
He would know, exactly, and he would just like inch away and just like go to the other side of the room and be like, keep that fucker the fuck away from me. I don't want to talk to him at all.
I would hate to be a
I don't want to be tempted at all to be that guy.
You'd just be like actually insane people complaining about like the most minor things.
I know.
You'd be like, how dare you take away Daring Dragon? And he's like, bro, I'm at a work event, like please relax.
Yeah. A lot of people like it. Calm the fuck down. No, I don't want to be that guy that bought $4,000 in Nintendo stock. It's a personal goal of mine. It's good to aim low for some things. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. You guys have any final thoughts for this? Other than they should absolutely have a legendary on release and they're idiots.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that way about Legendary Relic, but
really? Yeah.
that really affects me.
I'm just
really excited. Honestly, I'm really excited. Yeah, go ahead.
Everybody out there who has 8 legendary runes or 7 or whatever it is, I empathize with you. I think it's bullshit they're taking away functionality and not giving it back for a year. I get that, but also it's gonna be fun. Calm down.
Yeah. I'm excited about Relics. I just like it sucks to lose functionality. That's all.
Yes, I agree with you.
But I also I am willing to live with it. I would have been more willing, and I think they also wanted to push their new game systems, right? Like,
I just don't want them to take something away every expansion.
Yeah, I hope not too. That would be pretty lame.
We're adding new things to sigils, and they did bonus effect. They're called sigils too. No, fuck you, Anet. I made legendary sigils. They don't give me a visual effect. Give me the thing.
I mean, I think there's been so many examples of this approach of like, well, you paid for it to have it while it existed, and now it's going to be different.
To be fair,
so
they're also
enjoy the time you had it for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm not really complaining, but
my 80 alt accounts agree with you. That's a whole nother thing. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope this vault system is like heavy in the sense that I think like you said, like with the legendary, I think they've just made the mistake over and over again of not giving anyone a reason to just do the story and quit until the next story step comes out. I hope this vault can push that in the right direction. It'd be nice if it had more support with like legendary on release, with new weapons on release, but hopefully it's enough on its own.
Yeah, it honestly might be, right? Like, because you're right, there's no legendary to chase, but if there's, hey, the first month there's a Griffin skin to chase, like, people will do that for sure.
It should have been a sky scale, but I agree with you. Oh, there is an earnable sky scale. What am I saying? It's just completely separate from the vault. It looks like shit. Yes. It's terrifying. It has no upper draw.
Yeah, you know, maybe that is the chase item, and we're not thinking about it correctly.
Sure. Could be. Dicru says the hub is cool. I haven't seen it. Maybe it's somewhere on Reddit.
Dude, it looks so good.
Do you have a link for me?
Good. It's just in a lot of the articles. I can find one.
Oh, I want that because we're probably not getting
it's
a
a
guild
week
hall,
away,
right?
so I'm just waiting to see it in game.
No, there's no guild hall. They haven't announced that.
News article, Reddit.
That is kind of a shame. I hadn't thought about that, but
I don't care. I think guild halls are a bad idea.
Yeah, guild halls don't matter. I agree.
Well, I think they're a really good idea for the customization. I want to be able to have the things from the hub, since they pretty much just admitted that hubs are better cities. in your guild hall. That's all I want. I think they need to adjust how guild halls work.
I want guild halls to be able to log off in and log back on in. It's frustrating
like
that they never made it that way.
You want to put customized player housing, right? Like more than anything.
Yeah, I mean that's my favorite feature in all of gaming.
Dude, I think that's expansion 2 or I guess 5.
Oh, it's like
mini expect
promised for launch, and I'll never forgive them.
I really think they're gonna do it. I think they know their target audience, and they're gonna do that for eventually.
Be weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one thing that would help them compete against Final Fantasy if that's something they see as competition.
Yeah.
I found it. It's like the generic picture of the Wizard's Tower. It's like Arborstone 2. Yeah, it looks cool. Looks people commenting that it's all the crafting vendors seem to be in one place. Solid. I still think what's it called? Armistice Bastion is the coolest piece of content they put behind a paywall that they've ever put in this game.
Yeah.
It's so disappointing to me that you can't earn that. And then that you can earn Old Lion's Arch. I think they should have flipped those. Because no one uses that at all.
Yeah. I hate how they implemented it because no one uses it.
There's no mounts, and no one uses it, and they locked it behind a bunch of achievements that I want to do, but I haven't had the time to do. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm always the only one in there.
And if you log out, I think it's an instance, so you can't log back in there. Or I could be wrong.
Yep. Yeah, no, they made it... I feel like they designed it so that they could say, we told you so. No one actually wanted Old LA back.
I think they... I wouldn't attribute malice to laziness, right? I think they just did the easiest thing they could.
Yeah, that's fair.
But no mounts thing is weird.
No, I don't think the mount thing is weird. It's an instance, right? Like,
no, you can use mounts in some instances. All the Path of Fire
and
instances.
it's Old Lion's Arch, there were no mounts in that. Yeah.
That's dumb. That's the lore trench coat argument.
I think the worst part about it is they remove fall damage in that instance. You can't just like jump off a building and die.
Really? Interesting.
You can't realize how terrible it is and kill yourself?
Yeah, pretty much. I think on launch, I got it on day 1, and I was the only person in the instance that could die to fall damage.
Oh,
that's so funny you got it day 1. Like, a true Old LA fan.
Yeah, no, I mean, I prefer Guild Wars 1 LA, but that was the second best LA.
Dude, Monster plays like very... He got, you have the fishing thing too, right?
Oh,
you
yeah,
were like one of the first people to get that, yeah.
Dude, that's gross. I did half of it, like the first set. There's no way you could get me to do a second set.
All I could do with Sea Monster is I'd take him into World vs. World and I'd look over and he'd be like fishing and just like catching rags, which are the only thing you can catch in World vs. World. He's like, I just want to fish.
Yeah, it was great.
That's funny, man.
I would try to kill people next to rivers so I could fish on their dead bodies.
I really... So that's a huge complaint, and I actually want to extend this to Soto, and maybe we can wrap up there. I want the new masteries to affect more game modes, and I'm really pissed off that, honestly, Jade bots, they don't give you, like, when you kill someone in PvP, it doesn't give you, like, trophies, because people were abusing it, and they disabled that after a week. And then in World vs. World, again, they disabled that after a week. Or, like, when you kill somebody in World vs. World, it doesn't spawn, like, a pool with an ultra-rare fish that lasts for 20 seconds, so you have to kill somebody and fish really fast. Like,
I'm not upset. Masteries are almost wholly PvE focused.
Yeah, and I hate that.
Yeah, I feel like Masteries is an incredible system that they've barely scratched the surface of, and hopefully they'll figure it out one day.
I mean, they said Wizard's Tower will, extend to other things. I mean, especially considering all the garbage masteries we have, like Raven Gates and stuff for IBS that they could have done something with. I don't know.
You don't like Raven Gates? That's my favorite mastery.
Yeah, the right up there with the Hadouken that does less damage than your actual auto attack. Yeah, that one's great. It's so useful, especially considering it only works in 2 maps. Anyway, that's all I got. Soto, I think, is going to be awesome. I want to end on a more positive note. I think it's really worth the price of $25. I don't know if I'll buy the deluxe expansion, although I think Sea Monster at least did. Because I don't know if I care enough for the 4,000 gems. But hey, maybe I'll need them after my daily logins go away. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean,
I would say it's never worth it. I just know myself, and over the course of a year, I eventually buy that many gems anyways. So I just figured I'll get them at a discount.
It's always worth it if you will buy the gems anyway. But if you are uninterested in the gems, just buy the regular one for sure.
It's the base or the top one. Don't buy the middle one. Yeah. It's got like an emote.
Yeah,
and
that's what surprised me. I think the battle pass, like the gem store battle pass style thing for this expansion. Or I guess content drop. It's not, you don't gotta do any gameplay for it, but that and the pre-order was like the least worth it for value that I've ever seen from.
Yeah, it was kind of weird that it wasn't like 25, 50, 70 or something, or like 50, 75. It was like 55 for the middle one. I don't know. That extra $5 gets me a little bit. Maybe it is 50. I don't know. It's still too much.
But I think value of like content wise, I think this is the first time since like maybe season 3ish that they really are serious about pacing themselves and actually being aware of the pace their different teams work at in the studios. So I
Hopefully they're
have
talking
high
to each
hopes
other.
if they get it right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if they get it right and they stick to it, because I think season 4 to me was like one of the best eras of content in this game, but I think it was clear in season 4 that every time they got something right, they kept trying to do more until it was just impossible to keep that pace up, and it just sabotaged the whole studio.
Especially toward the end, where they were like,
Yeah.
hey, Thunderhead's kind of anemic, and then there was no communication for literally 6 months, and everyone thought the game was done. And it was like, oh, was that
it
it?
was so
We fucking lose and the
strange.
game's
Like,
over?
Yeah, it sucked, because they started out so strong, they had such consistent content, and then they just like
I mean,
clearly just consumed themselves with doing too much.
granted, Dragonfall was dope, and they had to delay that to get it to be dope. But also, from a meta perspective, from someone who works in advertising, I find that hilarious. Like, you lose in the story spoilers, the game's over, no communication from the studio, and are we done? Is that it? Is that how the game ends?
I mean, I think internally they really were done.
Maybe.
Like, there's been all this. I forget who it was, but one of like the one of the people who worked in story said that they were tasked with season 4 with wrapping up the story in a way that like left it open-ended but kind of closed things. So I think there was some direction that the game was kind of over.
I meant like after Thunderhead, before Dragon's Fall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forget that.
There was this 6-month
exact
period
thing.
where I was the guild leader, or like I was taking over EG and Theon had done whatever he's doing, and like there was literally no communication, and I had to keep things going, and I did for those 6 months, but it was just like literally nothing from the studio. That's why I'm so thankful that we're getting communication now, at least in like articles, because if nothing else, that's like, oh, they remember we exist. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think that's one of the best things about this new content cycle is that now we at least finally know what to expect of the game, right?
Yes.
Quarterly patches,
We
yearly
don't have dates,
expansions.
but yes.
Yeah, but we know it won't be like, well, it's gonna be 6 months and we don't have any idea what's happening with the game.
Right.
I remember now what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
that was rough.
Wild.
That was rough.
Yeah,
Any
I mean,
fin-
I think that's what is most exciting for me is that they seem to have an idea of what they can do and when they can put it out, and they're actually telling us.
Yeah.
Right, they're not just like, hey, get this out, it's crunch time all the time. And it's just like, that's not realistic, which they've said, so it'll be good. It'll be fun. Hopefully they, update some weapon skills and the balance adjustments come thick and fast. As they
phrasing,
should.
man.
No, that's exactly how balance should be, thick and fast and hard and tough and just get that balance. Okay. I'm Pseudo. This is Sulfur. This is Sea Monster. You guys have any final thoughts before we dive into Soto?
Oh man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think that was the perfect ending right there.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Check out the Harvest Temple run we finally finished up on my channel. Credit to everyone who stuck it out. Probably try to get it for a couple of our people who missed, especially Criven, because he deserves it. Honestly, everyone does. Big shout out to everybody who helped us. And yeah, check out the expansion. Go grab it from someone else's. I'll put probably like Guild Wars 2 Efficiency's affiliate link in the description, because they should be, if you're going to support anybody, support that, because for God's sake, this game is unplayable without Guild Wars 2 Efficiency. And it's a really good tool, as well as many of them that exist. But yeah, if you have any questions, hit us up. I'll try to direct any questions you may have for them. Sea Monster's mostly a PvP guy. Sulfur does PvP, as well as just telling me that am I complaining about Warriors Unfounded, so he multitasks pretty well. So it's pretty good. But yeah, cheers. I will see you in Tyria, and thank you for joining.